Afternoon, guys. Welcome to Football with Brownie. Hope you're well, keeping safe, keeping each other safe, and spreading love during this pandemic. Because we all need a little bit of loving at times, guys. We all need a little bit of loving. Even my guest agrees. Before we go any further, please check the ticker below. Please like, share, and subscribe to Football with Brownie. My Twitter handle is there. My Instagram handle is there. And Facebook, Football with Brownie. Let's get the conversation started. Now, it gives me absolute fantastic pleasure to introduce my guest, who ever since Real Madrid TV, I always wanted to chat to her. Even outside of Santiago Bernabeu, I was never given the okay with a mic. But thank you very much.
Those are the days.
Semra Hunter, how are you? And thank you very much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm doing very well indeed. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm back home in Wales at the moment with mum and dad. The grey hairs are coming. Yeah,
it's always for all of us, okay? So
I know, but yeah, the frown lines are already reappearing after a few visits to a Marbella clinic over the years. But you know,
that's what they're there for, right? That's what they're there for.
I say once again, thank you ever so much.
My pleasure.
La Liga TV, we'll come to that, but let's go right back at the beginning, because you are, in fact, my first ever Olympian champion I've ever had on the channel. Now, how the hell did that come from?
Well, I have my parents to thank for that, I guess. Because I'm an only child, they felt that it was really important that I play sports, so that it was a vehicle for me to meet people and to make friends. And through those friends to kind of set up my own family, if you will. And so I started playing sports when I was about 3 years old, and I was completely hooked. I did everything under the sun. I played soccer, played volleyball, swimming, tennis, baseball or softball it was for us, everything. And so as I got older, I started taking things a little bit more seriously, and I was really competitive.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a professional athlete. That was my goal. And so the two sports that I was really big in were volleyball and soccer. And I had better fortune with volleyball in terms of actually winning competitions and going the distance, let's say, than I did with soccer. Which is why, as I got a little bit older, I focused more of my energies in my volleyball team.
Yeah.
So on I played for both high school and for my club level, club team, that is. So with my club team, I had a coach when I was 17 years old who was like straight out of the military kind of disciplinarian, really strict about the way we had to trained 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day. I mean, it was really intense, but obviously I was young enough. It was okay. But it was his goal to make us win the Junior Olympics. And we did it in the first year. And it was remarkable. I think none of us really thought we could even go that far. I'm not sure that we all believed in ourselves enough. Yeah. But he proved to us that, you know, we were capable of doing it. And we did. So there you have it. I mean, that's what sport.
I mean, to be honest, I can relate a hell of a lot to that, really. First of all, being an only child, right? I'm actually adopted as well. If you look at my if you look at my mum and dad, thank God I'm adopted. But don't tell them that. Yeah. No, only joking. But yeah, only child. And also as well, I can definitely reiterate to the mindset. I'm a firm believer of a strict mindset, especially if you're going down the sporting activity kind of route. It does give you a better kind of result in the end of it, really, or better end result, I should say.
No, it definitely does. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So how come? So you went from there to you first TV career move. How did that come from? Because you wanted to be an athlete, then you just wanted to watch athletes.
Yeah, it was a kind of a big jump, let's say. There were a lot of steps in between, but I'll just try and focus on the main ones.
Yeah, no problem.
So when I realized that I was not able to continue on that path of becoming a professional athlete, mostly because I had a pretty serious accident when I was, I don't remember, I think it was around that time when I was 17, 18, something like that. Okay. And so that kind of put a damper on me going forward down that path of trying to pursue becoming a professional athlete. Yeah. And so I always had two passions in life. One was sports and the other one was travel. And so I figured, all right, well, if sports aren't going to work out, then I'm going to go down the other avenue, which is to get into travel somehow. So I had this very romantic idea that maybe I could work for the foreign service, or I could work for an embassy or a consulate, something like that, or I could move around every few years and live in different countries. So I studied that for my undergraduate, but quickly realized by the time I graduated that I hated politics. So that's out. At least I know that before. So I had done my junior year abroad in Barcelona and went home, finished my studies, graduated, and then moved straight back. So for a few years, I was a bit like, let's say, lost in a way, because the two main ideas that I've had for pretty much my entire life had evaporated. So I didn't really know what to do at that point. And I think a lot of us in our early 20s are a little bit lost at times. And we're trying to sort it out. And I think it's only natural. So long story short, for a few years, I was teaching English and just kind of living a relaxed life in Spain, trying to sort out what I wanted to do next, if I was going to get a master's, what it was going to be in. And I toyed with the idea of international business. And then one day, because my parents are really, really, really big sports fans. They love watching all different types of sports. And my mom said to me, oh, you would make a great sideline reporter. It's sports, it's travel. It's a perfect blend of what, makes you. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't, the light bulb moment of why did I never think of this myself? And so that was when things clicked for me. And I looked up master's programs in sports journalism specifically, because I figured I had kind of lost out on a little bit of time having not studied that in my undergraduate. And I found a program in Madrid. So I applied, I got accepted, and my master's was actually all in Spanish.
Okay.
So that was an interesting challenge. During the master's course, there was a trip that we made to a production company. And after we had a tour, the boss was one of the ones who took us around. And so I asked afterwards, I stuck around and just said, hey, this is who I am. I'm bilingual and this is what I do. I want to pursue sports. I really want to get into football. Like, football's always been my number one love. Yeah. And I said, do you think there's any possibility of finding something for someone with a profile like myself? And he said, give me a couple of weeks. I'll see what I can do. So straight away, 2 weeks later, he offers me an internship at Al Jazeera Sport at the time that beIN Sports was starting up. And so I took it, obviously. And that was pretty much my foray into broadcast journalism, into the industry. Yeah. And things kind of just took off from there, really.
It's been an incredible journey, as I say. I watched you on Real Madrid TV over when I was in UK, before I moved to Spain, and then when I moved to Spain, that's when La Liga TV started kicking off properly over there, and it's just an incredible journey, and not just yourself, but I love the kind of the stories where you're not spoon-fed a career, or you're not spoon-fed life as a whole. I like life. To me, you come up many crossroads. Come up to many crossroads, and sometimes you don't take the right but you can repair it further down the line, and or something may happen, like in your case, it took you a few years, but you diverted and went back on the track, and the world is your oyster. Absolute fair play. Really, really, I enjoy listening to stories like that. So went from Al Jazeera TV or Al Jazeera and beIN Sport, and then you moved on to
Real Madrid TV.
Right.
I thought you were going
to one question.
Sure.
Like living and working. Okay. Well, two questions, I suppose.
Okay.
Barcelona or Real Madrid? Barcelona or Madrid for working, and Barcelona and Madrid for living.
For living, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's Barcelona.
Okay.
And I think because I'm from Los Angeles, so I see a lot of parallels in the cities and how life is lived and the lifestyle. And I'm an absolute water person. I need to be near water. And that was the one thing that really, really, really was missing for me in Madrid. So, yeah, I mean, you can take the girl out of SoCal, but you can't take SoCal out of the girl, you know? So.
I know. Living in Marbella, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
The beach life, you know, the beach life. So for me, it's Barcelona. For working, I had totally different experiences.
Okay.
So to be honest with you, I don't really know how to answer that question, because there were some aspects of the job that I had in Real Madrid which were fantastic that are very different to what I have here now with La Liga TV. I mean, for example, because I was working for the club, obviously I had a lot of access behind the scenes, and I could have, let's say, like a closer relationship with the players, always a professional relationship, but they knew who I was. It was easy to talk to them after the games. It was a lot easier to get them to come out into the mix zone with me and to have a little chat. There was the ability to sort of build a sense of trust with them, because they knew that I was part of the club. I mean, in some ways, they were like I used to joke around and say that Cristiano Ronaldo was my workmate, you know? Because we all worked for the club. So that was always really nice, you know, getting to know the players and the people behind the scenes of the club as well too, and the managers. And so I obviously don't have that kind of.
That's fair enough. As a person who works out there or in Gibraltar as well, and I do. I mean, because I work for myself, right? It doesn't really affect me directly, but I do kind of see why certain areas of Spain the economies in certain areas of Spain do really, really struggle. Andalusia definitely. So I just, you know, many people during the winter would go to either Madrid or Barcelona for work during the winter periods. And I just wonder, you know, off the cuff really, would it be better for somebody, you know, from your experience to go work-wise Madrid or Barcelona? I didn't, but that's where the question comes from, really.
First of all, I think it depends on the industry that you work in, you know? Madrid being the capital of the country, I do think there's probably a lot more opportunities available. Certainly in my industry. I can only really speak about the experience that I have. Because, for example, if you want technology, Barcelona is actually a really big tech hub in Europe. So if you work in tech, this is actually kind of the place to be. But if you work in sports broadcast journalism, for example, I mean, there's opportunities in both cities, but I think Madrid has more opportunities, perhaps. And same with culture and the arts and culture and that kind of stuff.
I suppose what sector you're in. I suppose it all revolves around what sector you know, your working life would be for you to make such a decision. Just an off the cuff question. That's all it was.
No worries.
So come on, Real Madrid TV. One question before we go into it. Well, as a watcher, with the presenters and the hosts and all that, were you told what question to ask? Were you, by the club, was it any kind of pressure from above in the club to, well, basically, was it a dictatorship? Was it a state TV dictatorship?
You're going straight for the kill, aren't you? No. It's not a dictatorship. Absolutely not. I mean, of course, it is a club channel, and I suspect that a lot of clubs run their channels or their digital platforms or whatever it is in a certain way. That is to say that obviously you're always trying to go into the interest of the club. You're trying to sell the club at the end of the day. You're trying to sell the brand. So they want you to keep things as positive as you possibly can. But no, they're not going to say you have to say this, you have to say that. Or, on certain occasions, maybe they'll say, you know, please refrain from saying this or please refrain from saying that. But the thing was, like, because we did it in English and no one at the club really spoke English, we got away with a lot more, I think, than the Spanish side of things. But it was more in the sense that, like, we would try to be balanced and give an honest analysis and opinion of what was happening on the pitch, if that makes sense. So not to necessarily slam a player or to slam a manager or anything like that. But again, that was in my experience in the international channel. The Spanish channel version is a completely different story. But no, I mean, we had pretty much fair game to talk about whatever we really wanted.
No, because I mean, social media is a monster at times, isn't it?
But at the time that I was there, it wasn't as nearly as big as it is now. You know what I mean? So,
it's just some people on social media seem to think that Real Madrid TV is like North Korean TV, you know, whereas Florentino Perez went to the local golf course and done 39 hole-in-ones and so on, you know, that.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
So did you enjoy it? You know, you're on about you're very close to players and so on. I mean, surely you must have thought, okay, maybe further down the line, if I can create good working relationships with these players, you know, no matter what company I go further down the line, those relationships will always help me in the future. So another question as well, when you were going like to the pre-season tours, like to Australia and so on, was it all travel together, or was it the players would go on their own and then you know, the media and the backroom staff, everyone else would go separate?
So when we went, as you say, to Australia and China, it was an expedition of about 100 people, and we were all together. So we were on the same plane, we stayed in the same hotels. We were basically following them around 24/7 and, you know, filming their every move and making news out of it and producing shows or content in general. But there were obviously times when they were on their own and did their own thing and had different talks and different chats and so on, etc. But for most of the time, it was fairly relaxed, actually. And I was allowed pretty much everywhere, really. Obviously in public areas with other colleagues and things like that. But yeah, I mean, Rafa Benitez was just coming in as the manager at the time, and so there was changes going on with the club in general. But it was a very relaxed atmosphere, and it was a nice one, actually. And because you got to know a lot of different people at the club as well too, where normally maybe you wouldn't necessarily in Madrid, because we were all together all the time. So we would eat meals together, we'd have dinner together, we would go out and explore the city together or do whatever. So it was a really, really fantastic experience.
Well, the reason I ask that question is because, you know, you get a perception these days that the players are so pampered, you know, and I just thought that they and their own PR teams would be going, you know, and just kind of be distant away from other club officials. That's why I asked that question. But everyone that came with us, everyone that traveled with us worked in some area of the club. So it was all within the family, let's say. There was no external
teams, you know, PR teams or comms teams or whatever, agents or anything like that. None of those people were involved in the trip.
Well, I think it just shows just how much nonsense is written out there, you know, clickbait nonsense.
They need to fill the pages, unfortunately, you know, because people are coming to a 24/7, 365 day a year show.
And that is why I'm drinking coffee at 7 o'clock at night. That's why I'm drinking coffee. So Australia, where in Australia did you go? Because I used to live in Australia years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did, yes. Proper
where did you live?
Sydney.
Oh, I love Sydney. If I ever had the chance to live there, I probably would. Spectacular. Absolutely.
I actually helped. It just shows how old I am now. But I actually was a labourer on the site where they built the Olympic Stadium.
Really?
Yeah. There you go.
Well,
there you go.
At least you left a mark, you know.
If there's a part in the Olympic Stadium now which is crumbling, it's probably because of my work.
Nonsense.
Yeah, no, I loved it out there, but it was just too far. First of all, I was too young.
Really far.
Yeah, I was too young to appreciate what I had over there. I was really homesick because I was 21, 21, definitely showing my age now. But what an experience, absolutely what an experience. And I've made friends in which I still keep in contact now. And one day I'll go back. But I'm not one of these people who go back to a country or back to a place because I don't want to ruin the memories in which I've had before.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know? So then you went on to Turkey.
Yes.
Wasn't it? That must have been an experience, and a real fascinating experience as well. Istanbul is one of the most underrated cities in the world, I think.
I think it's one of the best cities in the world, without a doubt. There's an aura about it. It's just, there's like magic in the air, you know. It's something I've never experienced in any other city that I've ever been to. And it's this unique bridge between East and West and Asia and Europe. And it really is such a blend between so many different cultures and histories and languages and food and all of that good stuff. I loved it. I really, really loved the experience. It was something that came out of the blue completely. So I have Turkish roots. And so my colleagues at Liga TV, at the time, I mean, I'd been living in Spain for about 8 years. I was kind of ready for something new. As great as the club channel was, there is a ceiling. And so at some stage, everybody does move on eventually, you know. But it's kind of like where you do your training to kind of go on to something bigger and better, if that makes sense. Okay. It's a great training school, like an academy for footballers.
Yeah.
And so actually it was some of my colleagues who said, oh, you know, there's this new channel opening up in Turkey and it's going to be international and it's going to be in English, and given your roots and your connections, and maybe it's something that you want to look into. And I said, oh, sure, why not? So I applied and got the job and decided to move to Istanbul. So that was it. Just like I love adventure, and as I already told you, I love to travel. And it was also an excuse to be closer to family that I'd only seen maybe once, twice a year maximum growing up. So it was nice on a personal level, apart from the professional side. And yeah, it was quite a ride. It was quite a ride. I had basically 2 jobs in one. So I was a studio anchor for the sports team. And when I wasn't in Istanbul, I was on a plane going somewhere. I travel a lot as a correspondent. So it was honestly a dream job. It was so much fun. And I got to go a lot of really interesting, fascinating places I probably never would have gone to otherwise. But it was also a nice place to really level up and to continue my growth and development as well as a professional. So
why back to Spain after such a brilliant experience in Turkey?
The long short of it is that I had at the time a boyfriend who was
Oh,
from
here we
Barcelona.
go. Here we go.
For love, you know.
I know.
So we had done long distance for a really long time. And it was one of those things. He tried to come up to Turkey, and for a lot of different reasons, it just didn't pan out. And so I said, all right, you know, let me just finish doing 2 years here. And also, like, I really missed Europe. I really missed Spain, I think more than I thought I would. And so it was kind of a mix, you know. It was like, all right, you tried to come to me, now I'll come back to you. And also, I think I just want to be around, you know, properly be around football again and just dedicate myself exclusively to that. Because with Turkey, I was covering a lot of different sports, a lot of wide-ranging sports, and I had a great time. But it's always been my main goal to stick to football as much as possible, because that's what I'm really passionate about. So it was kind of a mix of those two things, really.
So, with Turkey, or the main, you know, up till I can remember, the main country, the main clubs, sorry, have all been based in Istanbul. You know, Galatasaray, Besiktas,
Yeah.
Istanbulspor. What the rivalries like that? You know, we always hear the stories, but you know, for someone living in Istanbul and taking in all the teams there, what was the rivalry like in that place?
It's intense. I mean, the Turks are a very passionate, hot-blooded people, and they take things to an extreme at times, and football is very much that case. It's unbelievable. It's when you go to the ground, the energy is so palpable. It's so vibrant and colorful. It's quite an experience. I recommend it to anybody who wants to live that kind of thing. It's a lot more intense, I think, than rivalries probably in Western Europe. Maybe Germany could compare. I don't know. I haven't actually been to a game in Germany, so it's hard for me to say. I've only just seen
Italy. I think Italy at times, certain rivalries in Italy.
I think there was where it can be, you know. But it was a lot of fun. I covered one season when Besiktas won the league, and just walking. I mean, they closed off the roads around the stadium, and it was just madness. It looked like post-apocalyptic world. There were so many flares and fireworks that it was just this screen of like fog. It was so dense you couldn't see more than 2 feet ahead of you. And then on the side of the road, you randomly see like the little kiosk of a guy selling corn or selling some bread. And it was just like a very weird, surreal setting. And the way that they celebrate as well too is fantastic. So they went on a bunch of different boats down the Bosphorus, and they laid off the same thing, fireworks and flares, and making all sorts of noise. And so you could see it and hear it from pretty much anywhere in Istanbul, and that's really unique. I mean, I don't know anywhere else in the world where they can have those kinds of celebrations when you win something. So it's different. It's definitely different. But if you love football, it's a great place to check it out.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been many years ago. I went to watch Galatasaray, but that was that was in the 90s. One place I'd love to go, and it is definitely on my bucket list, is to Buenos Aires, Boca Juniors, and River Plate. I would love to do that.
Absolutely. So, that's actually a really good shout. I think South America is probably a really good comparison to what you would get in Turkey.
Yeah. So when you get your transfer down to Argentina TV or Argentinian TV, let me know and get me a flight. Yeah. So La Liga TV, based in Barcelona, and it's through my time in Spain, it's just gathered momentum and it really is a fantastic product. I'll be completely honest with you, from start to finish. And congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you.
So, do you have a favorite Spanish team? I know you work for Real Madrid, so you can't say Real Madrid now.
I mean, listen, in all seriousness, Real Madrid is a club that very much has a special place in my heart because of the people more than anything else that I knew and I worked with, and having that insider experience. It's hard. It's impossible not to have some kind of feelings for the club. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's interesting. When I first moved to Spain, I did have a team. And I think it was because I'd grown up watching the Premier League. I didn't have access to Spanish football or to anything else really growing up in the States. I mean, apart from the World Cups, which were massive, of course. And so I was really unfamiliar with Spanish football when I first moved here. And my boyfriend at the time was like super football fan, knew everything about La Liga, knew everything all about players and the journalists and all this kind of stuff. And he was actually kind of the one who introduced me to it. So we used to go to games, we used to watch games all the time. And he was the one who really taught me a lot about La Liga, and is probably the responsible person for me kind of falling in love with the league, to be quite honest with you. So at the time I did have a club, and I think it's kind of changed for me now that I work covering all 20 teams. If I'm completely honest with you, I know that sounds, people aren't going to believe me when I say that, but when you travel around, as I have been fortunate enough to do, to go to the different clubs, to do interviews with players, and you meet people there as well too, and some people are just so lovely in the way that they treat you, and I don't know, you have kind of a soft spot for so many of them.
Yeah,
for so
I know,
many
I agree.
players as well too, you know, like I've really fallen in love with the league as a whole, if that makes sense. So, which is better for me, because then I think it helps me be more neutral and unbiased when it comes to coverage, even though, of course, there's always, if I give praise to Barcelona, then I'm a Barca fan and I'm anti-Real Madrid. And if I give praise to Real Madrid, then I'm a Madrid fan, I'm anti-Barcelona. But if I give praise to literally any of the other 18 teams, no one ever says anything.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, every club has some great story to tell, has something really interesting about its culture, about its tradition, about its history, and individual players as well too. And so now I'm more about the league as a whole, to be completely honest.
Because I do watch, well, before COVID, I did watch my local team, Marbella.
All right, nice.
Yeah. And I tell you what, the off-the-field activities, we're much more interested in the on-the-field activities. The amount of owners who have been arrested for corruption must be running into double figures now. But
Marbella is an interesting place, isn't it?
Very, very interesting. But one thing, I'm the same as yourself. I love La Liga as a whole. I really do. I think as a product, it's a unique product for many reasons. And
Absolutely.
Marbella is in the third tier. But it used to be like what England used to be, where under the second tier, you know, they localize the regions basically. So it's like, well, I don't know, I think they're changing it now, but it used to be like four leagues on the third tier, and they're all part-time. Well, most of them are part-time. So you don't have the risk of lower league clubs then going bust like you do in England, because you're not paying the higher wages, you know, to those players, you know, which also has a positive effect. The last time I went to watch Marbella, how much did I spend to get in? Entry fee, €4.
I was going to say 5, but yeah.
I may have a discount, maybe a season ticket discount of €1 per game or something. But you know, it just shows how you know, it still has that kind of connection with the ordinary people. And I still think, skill-wise, I think La Liga is better than the Premier League.
I agree. It's from a technical point of view, it's a better league.
Without doubt. And I even think now people say, oh, La Liga is only Real Madrid or Barcelona.
Yeah.
Okay, Atleti.
It's because they don't watch La Liga. They don't understand.
But also as well, is that that's the same happening in Premier League now. It's either going to be Man City or Liverpool, or, you know, the likes of Man United and Arsenal winning the Premier League are long gone. Yeah. It's becoming a 2 or 3 horse race in the Premier League now. But
that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
People with blinkered vision will always have blinkered vision, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, look to the future. Look to the future. Apart from Argentinian TV covering the Boca Juniors games, where do you see yourself in 5 years then?
Oh, God. You know, I get asked that a lot. It's interesting. I don't know.
Do you see yourself as, you know, going more of a producer or more of a because I've seen your YouTube channel, which will also be going into the description. Is it, you know, are you going to be branching out in different areas maybe?
I mean, I would love to, yeah. I mean, I would. The main thing for me, the most important thing to me, is to keep growing and to keep developing.
Yeah.
That is the main thing that I want to focus on. I mean, there are objectives that I want to reach. For example, I really want to cover a World Cup for a main broadcaster, for a big broadcaster. I mean, that for me is kind of, you know, it's like the equivalent of footballers who get to go and represent the national teams playing in the World Cup. For me, it would be doing so for a major broadcast network. And that is the dream for me. So that's next year. So it does fall into the next 5 years. And who knows, in 5 years I could have done it twice. So there you go.
No.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I think I just want to take my career as far as I possibly can.
Take every step at a time.
What's that?
Take every step at a time.
Exactly, step by step. Take every opportunity that comes my way, and it's nice. I mean, I am doing right now a mixture between when I'm with La Liga TV, it's mostly all presenting. Before COVID, I was doing a lot of interviews as well with players. I was traveling every couple of weeks, but that unfortunately for the last season was put to a stop. But it's looking like that might pick up again for next season, which is great for me because I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I also do a lot of work with Sky and BBC and other networks as well too, as a pundit. So that's nice to be on the opposite side.
Yeah,
and to have the ability to actually give my opinion or to talk, because I really love to talk about football. And as a presenter, you can't always do that necessarily because it's not your role. Even though sometimes I can't help myself. And I'm also doing a lot of event hosting as well too, which is really fun because it's something totally different. And sometimes it has nothing even to do with football. It can be other sports or even nothing to do with sports. And it's nice to kind of break away from that too, just to have a bit of variety. Since I live in this 24/7 La Liga bubble. So, so it's good to step back from that at times, you know.
Okay, so you want to be asked about football, so we'll ask a few questions about football.
Sure.
Right. There's been further developments regarding Sergio Ramos.
Oh,
I know. Sergio Ramos and his new contract is just a running story, isn't it?
It is. And if I'm completely honest with you, I think a lot of us are very confounded about the situation. And I think a lot of us were surprised. We thought that he was pulling another one of these stunts as he has in the past to say, oh, Manchester United is interested in me, and to negotiate a better deal. The thing is, it didn't help him that he's been injured for most of the season. It didn't help him that he hasn't been called up to the Spanish national team. He's been given an offer from Real Madrid months ago. He's just not happy enough with it. And it's not so much about the money. It's more about the fact that Madrid typically, with players at that age, only give year-by-year contracts. That's just sort of standard practice for them. And he wanted 2 years or maybe more because he feels that, he's a legend and he's a captain. And I'm sure he has all sorts of sound arguments for it. But they're at a standoff, and he's now gaining traction, or sorry, losing traction, I should say. It's the club that have the upper hand at this point because he's out of a contract at the end of June, which is just two weeks away. And it doesn't seem as though other clubs, at least officially, publicly, have made any kind of offer.
Yeah.
I'm sure he or his brother, who was his agent, I'm sure they've been.
I know. I've met Rennie Ramos. I've met him a couple of times.
All right.
Yeah, I met him when he had the Super Cup in Cardiff.
All right. Okay.
And it was some weird conversation. Me and my friend were in a bar, and Rennie Ramos come over, and a few Real Madrid fans, and we're like, "Who's that? Who's that?" And my friend, being really nosy, started talking to him. And my friend's father owns a slate mine in North Wales, right? Now, believe this, him and Rennie Ramos were talking business over slate because Rennie Ramos have got an interest in some slate mine in Northern Spain. It was just bizarre. And they've kept...
So maybe we'll see Sergio Ramos playing for Cardiff then.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it.
Swansea or wherever you want. Take your
I think he's let himself down in recent weeks in the eyes of Real Madrid fans. I don't know about yourself.
I think his strategy has backfired a bit, to be completely honest with you. It's interesting.
I know.
He may have to choose Madrid because there's no other option.
Yeah.
But I think, the summer is long and there's still time to see what's going on, but clubs around Europe are strapped for cash. I mean, that's just a reality because of the pandemic over the last year. So I don't think anywhere really we're going to see massive superstar signings. Maybe one, maybe two, but in general, I don't think we're going to see it happen. And he's I think 34, 35, something like that. And now getting injured.
Family as well. And family.
I mean, I think eventually, maybe, I don't know if he's interested or not, but maybe he'll go to the US or to Asia or something like that. But I don't think he wants to go now. I think he wants to stay in Europe. But yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting.
It is. The Spanish national team, what's your thoughts? Because I'm shocked that no Aspas has been...
that is another one that I think all of us are like, why?
I know.
I don't know if there's some personal beef there or if he just feels that he's not the profile of a player that he wants in the squad. No one really knows, to be completely honest with you. It is a head scratcher because in terms of quality, there's absolutely zero reason why he shouldn't have been called up to the squad. Yeah. So I don't know.
I know.
The answer to that question, and maybe even Yago Aspas, but
I don't know.
My battery's about to die. I need to go grab the cord. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no worries. I tell you what. Let's leave it there. Because your tea's getting cold. My coffee's getting cold. Don't worry. Thank you ever so much. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Viva España in the Euros.
Yes, please.
And thank you very much. And good luck to the future. And when you're in Argentina, you give me a call, okay?
Good thing. Count on it.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.